Politicians and business leaders in Australia have been debating about recent changes in our industrial relations laws, like a right to disconnect, claiming they're going to be bad for productivity. Well, guess what? These folks have to go back to primary school and learn some basic maths. Australia's Parliament recently passed an important new law, the right to disconnect. It will protect workers against being contacted frequently outside of regular working hours, on the evenings or on the weekends, except for reasonable reasons like an emergency or a roster change. If they're being contacted too much, they can complain to the Fair Work Commission. And they can't be disciplined or discharged if they do not respond to those out-of-hours messages. Sounds pretty reasonable, especially these days when you think about how our digital devices follow us everywhere. But some business leaders and some politicians, like Peter Dutton, hate the idea and have pledged to eliminate it in the future. Why? They said a right to disconnect would be bad for productivity. Now, what is productivity anyway? Let's face it, unfortunately, it's become a buzzword that means different things to different people, usually misunderstood and often misused. Bosses invoke the term productivity to refer to anything that would be good for their profits, even something like cutting wages or taking away entitlements. That's quite wrong, because in economics, productivity has a very precise definition. And guess what? It's a fraction. The numerator measures total output produced by workers in a day or a month or a year. The denominator measures how many hours of work it took to produce that output. The ratio shows how much is produced per hour of work. That's productivity. So what are Mr. Dutton and the business leaders getting at when they say a right to disconnect will be bad for productivity? Think it through. They want workers to be available, often on an unpaid basis, on evenings and weekends. That increases the number of hours worked, the denominator of the productivity fraction. There's not usually any change in the numerator, the total amount of output. In fact, usually the boss is calling you on the weekend because stuff that was supposed to happen during the week didn't happen. So the numerator, output, doesn't change, but the denominator, hours worked, grows. That means productivity, defined as output per hour, shrinks. That's the exact opposite of Mr. Dutton's complaint. Making people work extra hours, usually for free, on evenings and weekends, doesn't help productivity. It hurts productivity. There are lots of ways to increase productivity that make sense, both economically and mathematically. We could raise the total amount of output by growing the economy or producing more sophisticated, higher value products. Or we could reduce the number of hours it takes to produce that output through technology and skills and automation. But you can't increase productivity by treating workers like a cheap throwaway input, something bosses can call on 24/7, often without even paying for it. The mathematics are clear. That hurts productivity, not helps it.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to keep up to date with all our latest research and work, sign up to our newsletter. Delivered every fortnight, it includes behind-the-scenes updates from Richard Dennis, an exclusive cartoon from Judy Horacek, details for our upcoming events and webinars, as well as explainers, graphs, and not to mention the latest cutting-edge research and analysis from the team here on the key issues that are facing Australia. Click the button on your screen to check it out.